Hi, mathematicians. Today, we're going to talk about some strategies that you can use when you are trying to figure out number patterns. Sometimes you will be given very easy number patterns, and so it's very easy to look at the sequence of numbers like 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and easily figure out which number would come next. What number would you say would come next? Did you say 11? If you were thinking of 11, you are correct. So if we were to write the pattern in a rule, we would say that each time we were adding 2. And that would be the rule for our very first pattern. Sometimes you're going to be given number patterns that aren't going to be as obvious. And when number patterns are not as obvious, you're going to need some strategies. So we're going to think about today how we can figure out what is the rule for this second pattern. If I have 1, 1, 2, 4, 8, let's see if we can figure out what the next one would be. So I'm going to ask myself, how do I go from 1 to 1? Well, I'm going to multiply by 1. Okay. Then I'm going to ask myself, or I could also say I'm adding 0. So let's see if it continues. To go from 1 to 2, I'm going to multiply by 2. Or I would add 1. Now let's keep going. To go from 2 to 4, again, I could multiply by 2 or I could add 2. And then to go from 4 to 8, I would again multiply by 2 or add 4. So in this case, when I look at what I wrote down, my ideas, I see that multiplication keeps coming up and I see a same pattern. So I'm going to say that the rule is going to be to first multiply by 1 and then multiply by 2 for the rest of the numbers. So the next number after this, if we can continue with our pattern, would be to multiply by 2 again, and we would end up getting 16. Let's try it with one more that's even a little bit harder. So let's say I have the number pattern 3, 6, 30, 60, and 300. Well, at first glance, I kind of see something. I notice that we have a number in the ones place, and that repeats 2 times. And then we have a number in the tens place, and it is the same digit from the first 2 terms. And then we have a number in the hundredths place. So I'm thinking, just by looking at this really quickly, that my answer is going to be 600. But now I have to figure out how am I going to explain this? What is the rule going to be? So let me think. How do I go from 3 to 6 using operations? Well, I know that 3 times 2 equals 6. I could also double it. Okay. I'm going to put the word double there. All right, let's see if I can go to the next one. 6 to 30. Well, I'm thinking that I'm going to use multiplication. And if I do 6 times what equals 30, I know the answer is 5. So I'm going to put times 5 up here. Doubling doesn't work this time. So I don't want to write the word double. And if I was to count at 6 and count all the way up to 30, I would have to add 24. So I'll write that down, even though I don't think addition is going to be anything connected to the rule this time. All right, how do I go from 30 to 60? Again, I know I can double it, and whenever I double something, it's the same as multiplying by 2. That one seems easy. All right, now how am I going to go from 60 to 300? I'm going to, well, looks like I can multiply by 5 again. 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60 equals 300. Or 60 times 5 equals 300. All right, and then to go from 300 to 600, again, I'm doubling. And whenever we double something, it's the same as multiplying something by 2. So when I look at my notes, I see a pattern. First, we multiply by 2. Then we multiply by 5. Then we multiply by 2. Then we multiply by 5. Then we multiply by 2. So that tells me that the rule is to multiply by 2, then multiply by 5. So what would our next number be? We would need to multiply by 5. So 600 times 5? Ready for some 4th grade math strategies? The first thing we would do is look for the basic fact. 6 times 5 is a fact that we know. It equals 30. Now I'm going to go back. We have 1, 2 zeros in the first factor, so we have to add 2 more zeros onto our product. So 600 times 5 is going to equal 3,000. That means the number that's going to come next is going to be 3,000. Mathematicians, today you are going to challenge your brain to find rules with number patterns that are not going to be so obvious. Good luck, mathematicians.